Welcome to
Parsec Passion.
a podcast about Disney Plus Star Wars TV shows. This week we're talking about Chapter 3,
Chapter
The
3.
Streets of Mos Espa, or as it's also known, We Are the Mods, Quadrophenia Part 2.
Yes,
Hey,
yes.
that's a shout out for our older
But
listeners.
we're both old. I did think of Quadropedia for this. I'm so glad to be joined by someone who many years ago I looked deep into their eyes and bonded with. Bubba, it's great to be with you.
Oh man, if you only tear for me when Luke drops the door on me in Return of the Jedi. That's what I care about. Hey, listeners, we're talking about Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa. This is a fascinating episode which seems to have divided the Star Wars fans in our polls. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Catfish, what is your rating for Chapter 3?
Ooh, I think I'm going to give it 7.5. This is so tough.
It is.
I've got so many ratings for it today.
Oh,
I'm
really?
going to give it 7.5 double R's.
Wait, double R's?
Yeah, Rancor riding. Because
What a tease.
he seems super excited to ride his Rancor, even though he admits, like, I've ridden much bigger things. I don't know who he's trying to impress. The only one there is America's own Danny Trejo.
Yep.
I'm a little suspicious of him. I'm going to give it a better rating because for two reasons. One,
Yeah.
we spent very little time in the past, even though I was afraid we were going to spend a lot of time there.
Tragic past.
Number two, they already looped in the past.
No, they did. That's right.
He's got the same people he's having problems with in the past as apparently he's having now. There was some good action. I love the young toughs, man. Those young toughs. So I give it 7.5. I thought there was some good, that the chase scene was fun.
It was fun, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Not thrilling, I didn't think, but I thought fun. So Catfish, my rating, this might be the first week where my rating, it isn't, but it is a little lower than yours.
I don't know. I think I was pretty bad last week, Bubba.
You were pretty bad, but this week I'm just a bit lower than yours.
Okay.
I'm sticking with the rating I've had all this time. I'm giving Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa, 7, what I like to call double W's.
Oh, double W's. Yeah, that's right. No, what was that?
That is when you're in the bath and you get a Wookiee wake up. That Wookiee wake up moment, I'm not sure I had bought into the episode, but when suddenly the back of tank opens and all the water back to whatever it is falling out, I'm like, what's this? And then there is, I think, barely half a second shot of a Wookiee attack. And I was like, oh, hell yes. Hell yes. I think this episode was all set up, which is a bit tough. And it's also a bit tough that I love the Hutt so much. And did we just see the last of them? Are they skedaddling? I love this Wookiee, Black Krrsantan. And did he just disappear the show when we've just fallen in love with him? So
No.
A tough episode.
I disagree, Bubba. This is him gathering his crew. I don't know why they waited until episode 3 to gather his crew. You know, he already had Fennec. He could have gathered, and then he gathered some green eggs and ham. He gathered them in the first episode. It feels like, I think our boy, the wonderful Wookiee is going to be like, what the hell? I'll just hang out on planet, and the only thing to do on planet is cause trouble with my buddy Boba.
I love it. I would love that. But then I also got to be completely honest.
Tell me.
Now, this podcast started with us talking about The Mandalorian. And there's one character, R.I.P., that left quite an impact on me back in season 1 of The Mandalorian. And that's, hey, it's me, Toro Calican. And to me, this biker gang was Toro Calican levels of cringe. What in the world was going on with these people? That guy may like his eye, but I think you make me cringe. So what did you think of this biker gang, Catfish?
Come on now. I don't know what you're talking about. They are very tough looking. I mean, they reminded me of the Harry Potter kids in the first movie. You remember how tough and badass they were? That's how tough and badass these kids were. And you know what I like about them? They're like, we don't have enough money for water. Yeah. But what are they?
Get a job.
Get a job. They need a job just to be able to keep feeding the upkeep of their upkeep their bikes. Those things are damn fancy. Those might be the fanciest bikes I've seen in the entire Star Wars universe.
No, you are absolutely correct. Oh man, we can't afford water, but I got to get a new carburetor for this
Yeah.
scooter.
You know what I
What's
did
going on
appreciate though, Bubba, is they
What?
got my badass girl. They got my
did.
badass girl from Yellow Jackets in this one.
Yeah, that
She
actress.
is good. She is good in Yellow Jackets. She is good as here. She's got that that badass punk look for the ages now, you could say.
Mhm.
For the ages.
A long time ago, people liked the scruffy look. So that is
hell yeah.
actress Sophie
And
Thatcher.
also in the 90s. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. That's actress Sophie Thatcher. She's on the current Showtime show, Yellow Jackets, and she's playing a character named Drash. Ooh, do you like that Drash?
You mean as a name? No.
Oh, okay. There we go.
You know, Bubba, I almost gave this show a double D's.
Wait, double D's?
Yeah, Disney double timing or double timing Disney.
What do you mean?
Bubba, well, I went on to Disney Plus today, and they didn't tell me anything about Boba Fett. They were like, "Hey, you want to check out the Eternals?" And I was like, "When the heck did the Eternals become available on Disney Plus?" You know when that was, Bubba? The same exact time as Boba Fett episode 3. So they just totally stepped on it. They're like, "Screw you, Boba Fett. Eternals time."
Marvel rules all with their bank account. So if they say we want the homepage of Disney Plus, they get it.
Well, also, why not just release it a day later? Let have Boba Fett episode 3 have 24 hours of its own.
Well, maybe the idea is that people who are jumping in for Boba Fett, by having it be on the homepage, kind of the splash image of Disney Plus, it lets all those people know, hey, you like Boba Fett? Guess what else we got? We got space comic book things. I haven't seen it.
All right. Well, you know what? I'll say this, Bubba.
Yeah.
You're not wrong, because that's exactly what happened to me.
Oh, good. Now, once again, Catfish, we had similar rankings this week, but I mentioned that it feels like this episode has rankings all over the place. Now, we put out a poll right when the episode's released, and then we record this podcast a few hours after the episode's released.
Yeah.
So this is just a snapshot. It's not many people, but we did this for episode 1. Episode 1 had 11% of the respondents call that first episode poor. Episode 2, we had 9% of the respondents call the episode poor. Okay. Episode 3, now, once again, this is just ours. It's a very small sample size. We've only had 56 people vote in this poll. But we said, what did you think of Chapter 3? Did you think it was Black Krrsantan-tastic? Did you think it was good? Gangster gangs? Did you think it was fair? Priced water? Or did you call it poor poodoo? And look at these results, Catfish. We had, rounding up, 29% said it was fantastic, Santantastic. We had about 27% say it was good. We did have 21% say it was fair. And then 23% say it was poor. Ooh. This is like evenly split amongst the rankings.
Wow, that is interesting.
Only 56. Listeners, if you haven't voted yet, please go to our social media. You can find it at double PHQ on Twitter. That's the word double, single letter P, the letters HQ for headquarters. This poll will be up all week. Vote in it. Let us know what you think. Sorry, Catfish, I cut you off. What do you think about those results?
Well, I'm just surprised. I can only think it's maybe because, as you said, this was all, set up. Although I thought, there was between the speeder chase and I don't know how you could say it was all set up. The episode itself was really only before the titles and after the previous one was only about 30 minutes. And between that, we had the speeder chase and we had the fight with my boy Krrsantan and like 27 different people. And
No,
according to my ears, he broke Boba Fett's back. So
placeholder. Set up for a new back.
They did seem to rush getting the gang together. It was, as you said, I completely forgot, even though I made a part of my rankings, that he gained a biker gang and a rancor today.
Yep.
And a rancor trainer.
Yep.
You don't hire Danny Trejo. I would say you don't hire Danny Trejo to do nothing. They hire a bunch of people to do just nothing. We had Stephen Root in this episode. Who knows whether he'll come back?
He's got to get his high-priced water out there. He's representing Dasani. Now, one thing I do want to say, because I had this weird note that Catfish, you and I have been talking about off air, where I had somebody say, Oh my goodness. I watched this episode and I couldn't stand it. This episode was so woke. And listeners, I like to be completely upfront on this. I'm pretty liberal as it is, and I hear woke and I'm like, So I watched this episode again to see, is it woke? And I don't see it. But I wonder if what's happening is 3 episodes in, they're making Boba Fett weak. Like he always has to hop in that back of bath, right? He's losing. He kind of goes wrong a lot of times. He's outgunned. And I personally think they're doing this. So it's like you said, hey, beat this guy down so that when he builds himself up with his biker gang, with his Gamorrean guards, with his rancor, etc., he's going to come pay back Keanu Reeves style in all those My Rancor Has Been Killed movies, John Wick. And so I think he's just they're building him down, kicking him down so that when he comes up, he's going to come up hard. But I also wonder if fans, and myself included on this, who saw him kick so much butt in The Mandalorian, meaning Boba Fett, and thinking, oh my goodness, this is going to be 7 episodes of Boba crushing suckers. And then to open with Boba kind of takes an L 3 weeks in a row. I wonder if that's what it is. Now, I think maybe the showrunners were thinking, we've got a Superman problem. Boba Fett always kicks ass, always does everything. Superman, it's like, how do you get a credible threat against Superman? And so you have to give him kryptonite. You have to give him all these things. And so it feels like maybe, hey, let's give Boba Fett health problems. Let's give him a more traumatic backstory and have him be out of his depth so that when he does kick butt, it'll pay off more. But woke, I didn't see. I could see how maybe people expecting to see Boba Rambo Fett kicking butt for 7 weeks. I can't see how they could be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand. It is funny because, it did have this image of him, and again, mostly from The Mandalorian, that he's such a badass, and then like people are stepping on him left and right.
Oh yeah.
Even the mopey mayor's assistant, the mopey mayor's major domo, the Triple M, even he is like, well, he was scared enough of him to lock the door and run away rather than just say, bro, he's off planet. I mean, I would just say that. He's off planet. Don't come at me, bro. Yeah, I expected some more ass kicking.
Well, hey, listeners, this is what we think. Once again, we're going to read some of your feedback at the end of the podcast, but this poll up on @PHQ on Twitter, please go there and vote and let us know what you thought. Before we dive into the episode, I got to do some housekeeping. And we've been mentioning this. We currently have 1,849 subscribers on YouTube. We are trying to get to 2,000. That means we're 151 away from 2,000 listeners, even if you listen on a different podcasting app like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Audible, or Stitcher, or Podbean, anything. Please go to YouTube, subscribe. We're trying to get to 2,000. And what we're doing for everybody who subscribes or follows on any of those app platforms, at the end of the year, we're going to give away some awesome Boba Fett t-shirts that have come from Basildon in the UK. That's where I ordered them from. We're going to be giving them away to some lucky listeners who all they have to do is send us a screenshot of their app of choice, whether it's YouTube or any of those podcast apps, showing that you subscribe or you follow us. You'll be eligible to win. This week, we had entries from Mara. We had entries from our friend Endless Mike, as well as Camille. Listeners, get in. We're giving away 3 t-shirts. We want you to be part of the prizes.
Yeah, heck yes. Don't you want to win a prize?
And one thing we love to say and we love to do is we love international listeners. And maybe sometimes international listeners thinks, well, I shouldn't enter this contest of the United States podcast. They don't want to mail a t-shirt all around the world. We want you to submit.
But they will.
You can. You're eligible no matter where you are. Now, we don't know who you are, but we know there are downloads.
Where have you sent gifts to?
We've Switzerland,
like Argentina,
Brazil, Argentina. Yes, we've sent them to the UK, to Netherlands, our friend Narcisse. So once again, hey, in the UK, we don't know who you are, but we know there are downloads in Southwest, Southeast, Greater London, West Midlands, Northwest, East Midlands, Yorkshire, Scotland, East of England, Northeast. Catfish, where are we getting downloads in Germany?
Oh, my God. In Germany, we're getting them from Hesse and Saxony and Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, North Rhine-Westphalia, and Land Berlin.
In Canada, we've got downloads.
Oh, sure. You get to say the Canadian one.
Yeah, I'm glad you noticed that one. In Canada, we've got you downloads in British Columbia. in Ontario, in Quebec. Where in Australia, Catfish?
In New South Wales, in Queensland, and Victoria.
We have downloads in France, New Zealand, Belgium, India, Brazil, Spain, Netherlands, Norway, Ireland, Portugal, Italy, Malaysia, Singapore, Cyprus, Ukraine, Russia, Finland, Switzerland, Chile, Barbados, El Salvador, Turkey, Bulgaria, Denmark, Romania, Emirates, South Africa, Austria, Sweden. We've got downloads all around the world. Wherever you guys are, please, if you follow and subscribe, just send us a screenshot showing that you are following us or subscribing. We want you entered to win. We want to give away these prizes.
Yes, please come get them. We're ready for you.
Admittedly, we haven't had any downloads from Mos Espa. So, hey, losers, let's get on let's go, Mos Espans. Let's go. You don't want to lose out to Anchorhead or Mos Eisley. Come on.
I love it.
Catfish, you ready to jump into this episode?
Let's just jump right into it, Bubba. I say we get the B storyline out of the way. That is the past. Yes,
Boba's back at Tank Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I mention every week, and I'm going to keep mentioning it, in these dreams, the fact that they go back and recreate Kamino, the planet from Attack of the Clones, where we saw all the clones from Jango Fett were created, and we see a young Boba watching his father's spaceship take away. I think that does have to pay off some way. In my own head, I'm wondering how it can pay off, but I love that we keep seeing it. We're in the proper part of this flashback dream when Boba is riding a bantha into town. E-I-E-I-O. No, sorry. He'll be riding over the sand dunes when he comes. Anyway, Boba's riding this bantha into Mos Eisley.
Are you sure they were in Mos Eisley?
I'm positive they were in Mos Eisley.
Because he pulls over to the side of the road and he says, where are the Pike in Mos Eisley? Was that to let us know where he was, Bubba? I mean, right. you wouldn't go into Los Angeles and say, drive into Los Angeles to stay in Los Angeles and say, where is the Civic Center in Los Angeles? You would just say, where's the Civic Center?
Well, hold on. What if I'm trying to think who would be the equivalent? Who are the crime bosses in Los Angeles? Who are the Pikes? It'd be like you go into Los Angeles and you say, where are the Kardashians in Los Angeles? I don't know. I'm just. So, hey, he wants the payback. Last week, he took down the train in the flashback and said, hey, if you're going to go across our land, you got to give us that money, give us our tribute. So he's going to Mos Eisley. He's the representative. Now, one interesting thing that I notice is that he's walking into town. And what does he see there? He sees people putting stormtrooper helmets on sticks, right? They're on these sticks that we saw in The Mandalorian. And I'm thinking to myself, how does Boba feel about stormtrooper helmets on sticks? Now, just in the Star Wars lore, he is a clone, and there were all those clones also made from his father, but they kind of got phased out after Revenge of the Sith, and the Empire switched to stormtroopers, who are the equivalent of a recruit cadet or conscripted soldier, not necessarily a clone. But I still wonder, well, how does he feel about seeing these helmets on sticks? How does he feel about the Empire being defeated when it was clones of his father that really helped rise the Empire? How does he feel about Jabba being defeated? How do you feel when your boss has been killed and his sail barge blown up in a fiery? How do you think you would feel about that, Catfish?
Well, it depends. Do I still get to keep my benefits package?
Your benefits may have gone up in smoke as well. Or
okay,
what if Bib stole everybody's 401k plans because he thought, well, Boba's dead, he's not going to need it.
Time to kill Bib.
Is that why he killed him way back then?
Yeah, because he got his pension plan raided.
Well, okay, I should point out that the Eagle Eye fan knows that while we passed these stormtrooper helmets on sticks, a character from The Mandalorian, good old Pelimato, and her bit droids walk by in the distance. Hey, she's still there hanging out in Mos Eisley. Amy Sedaris.
Good.
So he goes in to see the Pike Syndicate supervisor there in Mos Eisley. And the supervisor is like, dude, I've already paid for going across the sand dunes. Is it the Kintan Striders, the Nikto Sand Riders, the Speed Bike Gang? I pay them, and then you say the Tuscans want their money. My superiors on Obadiah, they don't allow me to pay two shakedowns. So you guys figure out which one wants.
I guess that makes sense. Part of Boba's problem here is the same problem he has in the present until the end of this episode, and that is it's pretty hard to shake somebody down when you show up all by yourself.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. Now, admittedly, Boba, even in this weakened state, I imagine he could totally take down this one guy. He could kill this one guy. But how about this? Let's take the Pike's perspective on this. Is it okay to tell the guy who's shaking you down, I paid somebody else for a shakedown. Sorry.
I mean, I think that's
thank you. Come again.
That's some real politic. Just say, look, there can't be two bad guys. You figure out which one is the bad guy, and I will gladly pay you for a hamburger today, tomorrow, if you give me a hamburger today.
Okay, so that we know these Nikto Sand Riders. We know in the last episode what happened. Boba beat him up in the Tashi Station saloon. He beat him up, and he stole their swoop bikes, and then used those swoop bikes to rob the train. And so they didn't take too kindly to this. And sure enough, Boba takes that slow bantha ride back to the Tusken camp, and it's been destroyed, and the Kintan Striders have painted their symbol on the remains of the tent. Catfish, did you see this coming, that his Tusken family has been pretty much wiped out?
I didn't see it coming, and frankly, I'm surprised he didn't take at least somebody with him to town.
Right.
Maybe even a little kid. Little kid gives a lollipop or something. I did not see this coming.
Did you feel sad? Like, there are people online who really do love this storyline, and it was heartbreaking for them to see, because they had bonded over the previous two episodes with this tribe, and then here they totally got killed. And do we want to say, saving Boba Fett, the Tuskens seemingly didn't have any trouble with these Nikto Sand Riders. It was because Boba went and stole their swoop bikes and beat them up that they retaliated. And so are their deaths on Boba's hands in some ways?
Oh, in some ways? Oh, yeah, he's completely to blame for all of this. For sure, he's completely to blame for all of this. Bob, I wonder if the people who want to keep seeing him winning, because he did win last week in the past.
Yeah,
so
that's
maybe
true.
If he kept winning in the past, people wouldn't be bothered so much. Because now you're like, oh man, Boba's just a full-on loser. He's losing in the past. He's losing in the present. Maybe if they contrasted and showed more winning in the past, people wouldn't have had a problem with this episode so much.
Now, eagle-eyed viewers, I haven't checked this myself, but eagle-eyed viewers have claimed that amongst the dead there in the camp, we really only see the chief. People did not spot necessarily the little young Tusken or the what we call the warrior Tusken, who wore all black. So there's a chance some escaped, but this has got to be devastating for Boba, and that's where this storyline ends. It ends on a real bummer. And he hasn't had any revenge yet, which we imagine he'll get. But that's the flashback for this week. Catfish, you've been tough on the flashback. Ooh. Did you enjoy this more because it ended in tragedy and kind of did have emotional stakes? What do you think?
I mean, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but I felt for him too. These people helped him out. Mm-hmm. They helped him become who he was, and then when the time came to defend him, he was nowhere to be found.
Right, he was on a 12-hour bantha ride in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, forget taking the speeder bikes.
Right, exactly. He could have ridden a speeder bike into Mos Eisley, been back in no time to help them defend themselves. But tough times. Listeners, what do you think? Are you heartbroken that these Tuskens met a terrible fate, that the Tusken tribe may completely have been wiped out? And once again, because Boba involved them in something bigger than, just avoiding the train and not getting shot? Write us and let us know. We're on all social media. We're on Twitter and Instagram at double PHQ. That's the word double, single letter P, HQ for headquarters. We're on Facebook.com/double PHQ. YouTube, if you're listening to this on YouTube, and by the stats, we know not many people do, but if you are on YouTube, we love comments. Give us comments below. Let us know if you were heartbroken by these Tusken trauma. And, reach out to us. Let us know. We're giving you our thoughts, but our thoughts are just that. They're the thoughts of two people watching this show. We want everybody with us on this journey. So, okay, Catfish. Tragedy in Tusken time. Let's get to Daimyo drama.
Mm-hmm. Let's do it.
So I'm going to say this, even though Star Wars superfans know it already. This creature, this image that the episode begins with, is a classic deep cut of Star Wars lore. So if you look at this thing, it looks like a giant spider with a brain in a jar in front of it. And sure enough, that's what it is. It is a thing known as a Boamar monk. So the idea, believe it or not, Star Wars has so much lore. Jabba's palace and this creature that's barely seen in the beginning of Return of the Jedi in the palace gets its own backstory. The idea is these Boamar monks, they believe you need complete isolation to reach, nirvana, heaven, whatever it is. And so what they were doing is they were actually removing their brains from their bodies and putting them in these jars. And then these jars could be controlled and moved around by these spiders. The idea to, once again, isolate, to remove all distractions so you could concentrate on your faith. And the idea was that this was their temple, the Boamar monk temple, that Jabba came and ended up taking over. In the lore, the idea was Jabba was so tickled by these spider creatures that he let them hang around and stay there. And so that is the history of this Jabba's palace. And that's the history of this spider creature that we see walking up across the image, across the Tatooine landscape at the beginning of the episode. The episode begins improper once we get into 8D8's briefing. So, Catfish, what do you think of Matt Berry, the torture droid who is now Boba Fett's major domo? What do you think of him?
He's just some funny business. He's laying it down straight, and then finally Boba Fett gets that he's been insulted, as he was the entire time.
Right. Yeah, 8D8 seemed to fear Jabba. Boba Fett, not so much. So the information 8D8 gives us all is that, okay, the town of Mos Espa, it's divided into 3 families. We got the Trandoshans, who control the city center. We got the Aqualish crew that controls the workers' district. The Clatunians, they control the starport and the upper sprawl. It's like the Sopranos, as if it's like the Sopranos. So, hey, we got 3 families we got to take care of here. And we really, I'm not going to say spent much time with any of them. We saw the Trandoshans. That was the creature in the very first episode that said, I hope you never leave. But we really haven't spent any time with these 3 families controlling these 3 districts of Mos Espa. It really does all seem to fall under the mayor's control and the mayor's area. Sorry,
let me ask you an overall question first.
Sure.
So, first, Boba Fett was the boss.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bib Fortuna.
You mean first Jabba and then Bib Fortuna, right?
Jabba, sorry. Yes. Now, did Boba think that all he would need to do is kill Bib Fortuna, and then everyone would be like, well, this guy and his one assistant are really to be afraid of? Like,
listen, wait a minute.
Not
Let's
to be
not
afraid
forget
of, but, well, I respect him. I respect him for what he did.
Right. I respect him. It was just him and his buddy who took out all Bib's people in the palace.
I mean, you just got to think, like, forget, like, him being a badass. Like, Is he a dummy?
Did he think it was this easy? Did maybe he worked for Jabba and Jabba made it look this easy? It wasn't like Jabba did much of anything, right? He just sat there and people would come to him and treat him like, the godfather that he was.
Yeah,
maybe he thought that's all he needed to do.
Because I'm sure that Boba had his people out in the streets. That Jabba had his people out in the streets. Boba until this episode has got no people to put anywhere.
Respect. He doesn't have people in the street. He has respect in the street.
Well, and this is a good segue because Lortha Peel, that's pretty much his first thing. These people out here don't respect you. He literally says you're not respected after Boba said he wanted the people to respect him. No respect. So he does get his job of the week. People might have been distracted that there wasn't a job of the week because double tribute means, okay, I guess it's not a job, but it is a job. So then we go into, as you say, Mos Espa After Dark.
Working the mean streets of Mos Espa when the suns go down.
And then sure enough, he does run into this mob of kids.
Yeah, they're stealing my product.
They're trouble from the word go. You know what? Here's another reason that people don't respect Boba. Because the main girl from Yellow Jacks, sasses him so hard, and Boba goes, you know what? How about a job? So I just want you to remember that if you want people to respect you at your next job audition, Bubba, just start talking back to him.
Listen, what
Man,
I've done.
What are my 3 worst attributes? What are your worst 3 attributes?
Listen, Drash, a.k.a. actress Sophie Thatcher, the punk with one robotic arm of droid parts, her job creation skills and her interview skills were so good that I have copied in transcript what she said to Boba and put that on my LinkedIn page. I'll be getting jobs everywhere, baby.
Love it. Love it. You're like, and your final statement in the LinkedIn page is, just tell me where to bring my gack and I'm ready.
Gather up your gack if I'll be. Well, how about this? She gives him some guff. Those other punks give him some guff.
Yep.
And Boba's answer is, you've got guts. I'll give you that. Guts? I'm trying to think what they had done that was really gutty. They'd complained that water was too expensive and that they couldn't find any work. Good guts.
All you do is take one look at all the upgrades they've made to their bodies and their bikes to know that they do not know how to spend their money wisely.
Total stone cold disc, Catfish. What are you talking about?
Get off my lawn, kids. Go work for some water. Sell your bike if you need the money.
How about this? I can't afford any water. Now, I did just spend all my money on this upgraded eye. I could see for miles, man.
Oh, look, another good Who reference.
I know. Hey, we're trying. If you're too young to understand Quadrophenia, I believe, if I can remember from years ago, I thought I saw it on like VHS or something. I thought it was pretty good. Quadrophenia, those mods with their scooters, and a young Sting in that movie, remember?
Hell yes.
Okay, we go back. Boba gives the classic "gather up your gack and follow me" line. And so now he's building a crew. He's building a force that he's going to need for this coming war. We cut back to Jabba's palace and we see the exterior.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, we're at his palace.
We see the exterior, and then we've got a classic, there's always a bigger fish moment, where there's a flying lizard that comes down and grabs a creature. It's going to take it off to eat it, but SpaghettiOs. A tongue whips out of an alien and it eats both creatures. Hell yeah.
Yeah. We just needed something to eat the last alien or to step on it or crush it to complete the bit. But right. I feel like we needed one more piece.
Well, maybe that piece is going to show up and crush it with a rifle in a bit. So as I mentioned, Boba has his flashback in the bacta tank. Suddenly the bacta tank opens, the liquid and water all falls to the floor. And when they cut to that shot of Black Krrsantan lunging at him, I was like, hell yes, some action. Wake me up, let's go. It is tough, let's be honest. It is tough to get great action when the movement's going to be very limited for that poor actor in that Wookiee costume. But there were some great moments. And when he took a bite of some delicious green ham, Gamorrean, I was like, hell to the yeah.
Well, that was his entree. His appetizer was Boba's hand.
Oh, yes. Youch. Oh, and how about this? He has brass knuckles that also have some sort of electrical pulse in them that he can smack you with, man. Damn.
Hello. But, Bubba, I can see why Krrsantan reminded you of me, because he is a badass, just like me. Tough.
He is grumpy like you, that's for sure.
He fights. It takes everybody to bring him down. This fight goes through almost the entire palace. He goes bowling with his boys.
I love it. Hell, Boba. Once again, people who want Boba to be the badass, he really took some hits in this fight, man. I know you're going to mention one bit at the end, but there was also this bit where Boba kind of attacked him with the gaffy stick, and I'm pretty sure Black Krrsantan just smacked him, and he went back so fast into that bacta tank. It was insane. Oh,
you know what? Those kids, now I'm going to defend them. You know what I mean? They were hanging around. They were hanging around, doing nothing, not even looking for a job, just spending all day chroming up their speeder bikes. And all of a sudden they're in a major fight and they stand toe to toe. I would have been like, this is BS, man. I'm going back to the unemployment line. This work is too hard for me.
Do you think of the unemployment office? It's like, what'd you do to try to get a job this week? Well, I fought a giant frigging Wookiee that was PO'd.
He knocked me about 10 feet back. I stood up and then I turned around and came here.
Right, exactly. Now you ask the question here, Catfish.
Yeah.
How did Boba survive that? Oh my God! Like
I
he
have no
crushed his
idea.
head. Oh,
That was, I mean, he did the kill move you've seen in several movies and completed it. And then Fennec comes up and is like, "Oh, I'll contribute." And somehow Boba's still alive.
heck,
I
he
think,
was fighting in while wearing just MeUndies.
hey, he's got to show off the goods, man.
Oh, I'd be like, listen, Krrsantan, you've been sent here to kill me, to torture me, to maybe bring me back alive. But can I put on some friggin' pants?
So finally,
Yeah.
they drop him down the rancor pit.
Oh, I love that he held on for a minute. I thought he was going to climb out of that hole, and I was going to be like, oh, no, these people are in serious trouble.
For the longest time, it was one of those stereotypical horror movies where somebody goes down and you're yelling at the screen, just finish him. Just make sure, double check. Once again, John Wick, 2 to the head just to be safe.
Heck yeah. Oh, man.
Man. So then they celebrate by having a huge dinner where it's just him and Fennec. Once again, they had help from the kids. They had help from the green guys. No dinner for them. Their table is so full of food that he turns away a droid bringing more food. At least send it to the kids, for God's sakes.
They're on a 2-week probationary period. They just started.
Holy cow, no food. So he says, Bubba, he says, and we'll get to this line later because I think you were thinking it. He's like, you know what? I think I should do something. and Fennec, and I couldn't tell whether she's being sarcastic because she was just being baseline sarcastic in this entire scene, says, nah, you should just wait. And then what happens? Amazing. The twins come to apologize, they say. And in a moment I love, they're like, yeah, we're sorry because we sent Krrsantan to kill you.
And he didn't succeed. We're sorry that he didn't succeed.
We're sorry. Yeah,
my bad.
We're sorry. So we brought you an apology gift. They bring him Danny Trejo, unlikely movie star. But along with Danny Trejo is something that I have to admit I didn't recognize. So at first I put some kind of animal, but it's a rancor. It turns out to be a big, for the species, kind of a baby rancor.
He's developing. He's small boned. He'll grow.
This is a little. So the twins say the mayor has promised the planet to another syndicate, and they're leaving. Boba offers to give Krrsantan back to the twins if they leave. They're like, hey, what did we tell you? We're leaving. Do whatever you want with him. We're out of here. And Boba, my question to you is, oh my goodness, somebody scares the Hutts. You know what my reaction to that is?
What?
Hutt-Oh.
No. Oh no. Let me say that
Hutt-Oh.
People keep saying that. It'll be funnier the 5th time.
Hutt-Oh.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I know there are people out there who have trouble with CG Hutts compared to puppet Hutts. I get it.
Yeah.
But I love these Hutts so much. I love Black Krrsantan so much. And if they aren't back, I am going to be furious. They are wonderful. Now, yes, they can be replaced by more awesome things, but I love the Hutt twins. I love their smack talk. I love Black Krrsantan. I want them to stay. And so that was one of the things that I was like, please don't go Hutts. Please don't go Hutts. Oh,
Are they leaving?
Well, they're afraid of another.
I set you up for that one. You fell for it, you son of a gut.
I'm upset. But yes, your point is, as if you were supposed to say, oh, wait a minute, a syndicate out there scares the Hutts enough for them to leave. That's got to be serious. So that is the point.
I got it.
But the heart was broken by saying goodbye to these twins.
Well, I don't know if we'll see the twins again. But as I said, I think we're going to get a very tall, dark, and lethal stranger is going to join Boba at some point.
So, hey, we do have a rancor. We've been dropping people down there all this time, and they get scared, and it's kind of a anticlimactic because we don't have a rancor. Now we've got a rancor, and the rancor keeper famed actor Danny Trejo is trying to explain, hey, this is a terrible beast that scared you as a kid, but guess what? If you just pet it in the right place, it wants to be your friend.
And he does, and he's like, why does it cut his eyes covered? Because his eyes open up. Bubba, I got to nerd out on you for a second.
Let's hear
This
it.
is an amazing bit of synergy. Because I was playing a Zoom D&D campaign on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And in that campaign, I interacted with a basilisk egg, and my companion was like, let's leave. And I'm like, no, it was happening. I said, I'm going to be the first one to look at this basilisk in the eyes. And instead of being frozen, I'm going to bond with it. And that's what happened, Bubba. I bonded with that baby basilisk. And so sure enough, here we have the same exact thing. So this spoke to me as a new proud father of a baby basilisk.
Yeah.
Super excited. This is awesome. It's strange because there's so much going on. I don't know how long when the rancor is going to be fully dangerous. I guess he's big enough to be dangerous now. So the rancor could be in episode 7 riding that rancor and just whipping fools left and right. I assume a lot of people thought, oh, the rancors, they're just kept in the dungeon and they cause trouble. Boba's got different ideas. He's going to let his rancor flag fly.
It also could be that Boba's just thinking to himself, how many times have I walked back and forth across these desert on my own 2 feet? I'm going to ride this bastard.
Now, here's my question, Bubba.
Okay.
And not to be mean, I'm not trying to be mean to Danny Trejo because he will come and kick my ass. And he's still a better actor than I am. But I didn't know whether he was trying to play in a way which I thought he was suspicious, or just he's not capable of playing someone who is not suspicious. You know what I mean?
Boy.
Like,
yeah, I do what you mean.
When Boba leaves and he's like, "Don't worry, he'll be back," I was like, I felt like he was like saying, "For us to kill."
Catfish, that's great that you're saying that. I was the exact opposite way. I thought Danny Trejo was trying to show that he had bonded with the Rancor, and that he was like, when you give you have a litter of dogs and you need to give one up to a new family, you're like, it's okay. This new person will be back. They'll love you. Don't go. I thought he's trying to call back to that scene in Return of the Jedi, famous scene where Luke has killed the Rancor. The door falls down and stabs the Rancor and kills it. And then Luke is captured and taken back to Jabba. And we have that, quick second shot of the Rancor keeper there with tears in his eye. And I think it was trying to play back to, remember that guy in Return of the Jedi who loved that Rancor so much? Maybe Danny Trejo is that same type of thing. There was a bit of comedy I loved in this. A bit of comedy I loved was when 88 did a peekaboo around the beast, like, hello, hey guys, you there?
Oh my God. So and this is another thing too. You have this creature here. Mm-hmm. If I was Boba, I would have been like, look, I don't need to solve this mayor thing now. I just got like a mayor killer here, the Rancor. Yes. I would have stayed with the Rancor and kept bonding. But no, they got to move this story forward.
Yep.
So despite Fennec saying, nah, let's just sit here and eat these 2 huge reptiles by ourselves without inviting any of our friends, we'll go to the mayor's office right now. The mayor's major domo, Fennec threatens him. Once again, Fennec's opinion of respect is very low.
She's on the fear camp for sure.
She doesn't care for respect.
No.
Intimidates him, and then he locks the door, and then they break in, and they're like, okay, he's on the run. And at first I'm like, why are they chasing
the major domo? He doesn't mean anything.
He doesn't mean anything. And the only reason they are chasing him is because when they do, they'll find out where the mayor is, instead of having the skip of like, well, where's the mayor?
Right, and he's not here.
And then asking my fellow Boyle at the front desk.
Oh, yeah, the long-haired mustache man.
Didn't get to say anything this time. They could have given him some funny bits. He could have been standing there at the desk completely shitting his pants. They didn't have any of that stuff for him. But he got paid as the principal actor, and that's all that matters, my friend.
Excellent. Hey,
he got at least 2 credits in Boba Fett.
Keep going. They were going back to that. They built that mayor's office. We're going to keep going back to it no matter what. I love Dave Pasquesi as the mayor's major domo. The fact that he is in a chase is ridiculous. It's silly. To me, I've already, shown that I'm a bit older. I don't know if I was alive when Quadrophenia came out. I probably was, but I saw it, when I was a teenager in possibly the 90s when I saw it then. But then this is another thing. This chase, it was like, this sounds silly and it's going to age me again. It was like an episode of Chips. Like, what is going on?
Oh my God.
There's a slow speed chase, but it is the tropiest of tropes. Instead of a plane of glass, they go through a hilarious piece of art in the chase scene. And like many people, I'm wondering, Boba, you've got a jetpack, you're competent, but instead you're putting these kids on their scooter out after him. What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. When at the end of the chase, he just like jets down. I was like, you could have done that the whole time.
Nah.
That's all right. No, the kids get knocked off their bikes. If this was a chase where the guys on bikes were bad guys, they all would have died. Even the guy who gets knocked off his bike somehow is completely fine. Once again, I would have gone to well, maybe not the unemployment office. I would have tried to get a disability check from the state after this. They're fine.
This chase had moments that kind of tickled me, like when the mouse droids were running out across the street. But the one thing I thought watching it is that George Lucas, say what you want about our founding father of Star Wars, George Lucas, but what was his motto? Faster, more intense, faster, more intense. He's the guy who gave us that speeder bike chase through the forest in Return of the Jedi. He's the guy who gave us that fast chase through the asteroid field. The fact that we were having this bizarre slow chase through town, I was wondering, I was like, okay, this is kind of fun, but I do wonder how George Lucas would be watching this and saying, come on.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't considering they were going through a town. It didn't seem slow to me. It seemed fast to me.
Okay. All right. Well,
I mean, it was definitely more comedic with him.
It was
bit like a pinball through the streets.
Hey, listeners, that's how we felt about this fun in the Daimyo drama. How do you feel? We're going to keep repeating it because we care and we really do want to know. So tell us how you felt about episode 3, about this crime saga we're living through at PHQ on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/PHQ, YouTube. Leave those YouTube comments. You can even email us on our website. Our website is PPmedia.com. And if you go there, you'll be able to send us an email and really let us know all your thoughts.
I know, Bubba, this is a surprising one because it seems like we may have liked it more than some of our listeners, when I feel like a lot of times we are a little harder on the episodes than our listeners. So that's an interesting turn of events.
We love it. Hey, now, listeners, we have another thing we want you to join us on, and it's our Bounty Hunter Guild battle, where we battle for the puck, as my boy Grief Karga likes to say, where we take an idea introduced in the episode and we debate it between Catfish and I. Catfish, what's the Bounty Hunter Guild battle this week?
All right, so this involves, in the past, in Boba's past, his previous situation and his present situation. So what would you rather have? What's worse? Let's say what's worse?
Okay. What's worse?
Not having protection from the suns on a desert planet, or wearing a heavy black robe with a hood on a desert planet?
Oh my God. Okay. So Boba's first outfit, let me just think about this. This is the one that had been in the Sarlacc pit with him, which had all that Sarlacc stomach acid on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Seemingly got bleached white in there. And then he's dragged out and dragged across the desert. How many days/weeks do you think Boba, the only thing he had to wear was that damn disgusting white thing and nothing covering his head? And then the flip side is black, which I'm always told kind of keeps heat.
Yeah,
you're gonna wear all black,
absorbs the sun. Yeah,
right. Gonna wear all black robes, and then you do have a hood though. And
yeah, good. So keep your head hot too. Yeah, okay. All right. Sorry, I don't want to. You get to pick the first, and then I will pick the second.
Okay.
What is worse?
What is worse? I'm going to say, and I'm only doing this because I keep thinking how rank that outfit he wore in the Rancor pit must be because he was wearing it so long. I think it's worse to not have any protection from the sun, to be walking around in a onesie for several weeks and nothing covering your head. I'm gonna lose a lot of water weight, but hell, there's wonderful shells out there. Those black fruits, melons that have the water. So I'm gonna say it's worse to wear white on Tatooine.
Well, Bub, I'm surprised that you didn't use one of your part of your answer that black is slimming.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. Exactly right.
All right. So I am saying that wearing a heavy black robe is worse. First of all, the most important thing is when you wear a heavy black robe, you get the robe wearer's tan, which is horrible. It's just your face and your two hands. And you're also not tanning all around. Now look, it's what happens. You spend more time in the sun, you get that lovely brown glow. I mean, you look healthy. You don't look washed out. It's all that good vitamin D, and also just that thing is it's oppressive. It's oppressive. You're going to sweat in it and then fall over in your bantha saddle or on the speed bike saddle. So wearing a heavy black robe, worse.
Ooh, I don't know. How about this?
Mm-hmm.
Would I rather wear the hideous white outfit that was in the Sarlacc stomach, these black robes, which are going to dehydrate me and drown in my own sweat, or dress like some of those loser punks?
Do you know how much those outfits cost? They cost so much they couldn't afford water.
Those poor kids. Okay, hey listeners, you tell us what you think. You tell us how you feel at Double PHQ. Catfish, we've got another thing that we like to debate and kick around, and that's the Mandolicious line of the episode. And if listeners are new, Catfish, describe what do we mean by Mandolicious line of the episode?
Well, Bubba, you and I are big fans of comedy and quips. Quips are very important to us. And so we love it when an episode's got some lines that make us laugh. We consider those delicious lines. But because we're in the world of Star Wars, they're Mandolicious lines. So I have 3 nominees, Bubba, for the Mandolicious line of the episode. You can add some more at the end if you like.
Okay, let's hear them.
This was a little weak to come up with them this week. But first was the water sour Stephen Root when he says, "I am insulted on your behalf." He was just a fun, slimy character, and the way he delivered that line was beautiful. Boba's line where he says, "If you don't like it, you can move to Mos Eisley." That's a burn on Mos Eisley.
It sure is. Is Mos Eisley that much worse than Mos Espa? I mean, that's stone cold. All right, let's hold on. What is the equivalent of that? Hey, you don't like it here in Jersey City? You could move to Wayne. You know, you don't like it here. You don't like it here in Torrance. You can move to El Segundo. So what is the equivalent here?
I don't know, but let's not keep naming towns and insulting listeners. So I'm going to go right to the third line, which is when Boba's at the dinner and he says, "Everyone is watching, waiting for me to make the next move." You got that right, brother. But I tell you one person who's waiting for you to make his next move, and that is Bubba. No. So as I said, those are my 3 nominees. Did you come up with any more lines, Bubba?
It is not a Mandolicious line, but we actually didn't talk about the very end of the episode where it's like, hey, it's the Pikes. The Pikes are the bad guys. The Pikes are coming. And we see that giant starship come. And as the gates come down and all the passengers exit, and we saw all that Pikes, all I could think about was, welcome to Squid Game. All those Pikes are wearing masks. I thought, awesome, we're seeing Squid Game. So I didn't have any Mandolicious lines other than the ones you picked. My personal favorite is the first one you said, in that I am insulted on your behalf. What a load of BS. Love it so much.
That is some delicious manipulative BS. I'm just gonna go with Boba's burn. If you don't like it, you can move to Mos Eisley. Uncalled for.
Not cool. Not cool. But somebody who is cool is our music analysis expert, Matt Murdock, who you can find him at Musical Concepts on Twitter, who's going to break down, looking at how this week the score ties in, the main theme, I should say, ties into things we're seeing in the current story. Take it away, Matt.
Today we're going to be talking about how Joe Shirley took one of Ludwig's themes. They've been working together this season. Ludwig writing the themes and Joe Shirley doing the actual score. Today we're going to be looking at how Joe took the old Mandalorian Boba theme and changed it up as Boba was coming into town to see the mayor once again. And we've heard that theme used whenever Boba comes to town. So it's appropriate there. But he changed up the harmonies used in order to create a different kind of feeling. Normally, we just get the motive that kind of outlines a diminished chord. We normally just get this. And when it's by itself and it's solo, it completely outlines what we call a diminished chord. And diminished chords are the ones that are generally the scariest. But in this particular case, Boba's not really causing any immediate threat to anyone we see on screen. And I thought one of the interesting ways that you could create tension for Boba, instead of Boba creating the tension, as this theme about him usually implies, is to add some of the kind of harmonies and counterlines that Shirley did. Let's start with the counterline, because that creates a whole lot of tension all by itself, simply because the notes that are used, they do resolve back to where we feel the home key is. But when you think about the way they are used, they create tension in themselves. I'm talking about this counterline that was actually an octave lower, but because of the way the piano's laid out, I have to play it an octave higher. This. Now, in psychoacoustics, our brain does some quick math, and we don't really pay attention to the order that the notes are in or whatever. We kind of do just this kind of all-in-one math. And so our brain is registering a sound kind of like this when we hear that line. And there's a heck of a lot of tension in there, right? The bottom note doesn't seem to fit with the top notes. And so that creates tension. But because the motive is staying the same, we know it's about Boba. But in this case, it's about the tension for Boba as opposed to the tension that Boba is creating. Then another really interesting thing happened. Harmony was added, and not harmony that you might expect. Because Boba's Mandalorian theme, as I said before, outlines a diminished chord, which makes things very tense, some of those notes were actually changed. Now, rhythmically, everything is staying the same, and that's what helps keep the continuity. Remember, rhythm is one of our facets. You can change the notes as long as something about the theme is still implied, the theme or the motive. And in this case, it's the rhythm. The rhythm doesn't change, but the notes do. And we got this. And one of the really interesting things is, as we would expect, it starts out with that minor or main diminished feel. But there's also a moment in there where we actually get a major chord, a feeling of hope. And that's really interesting, because this whole series, we've seen Boba trying to win everybody's respect instead of just trying to earn their fear. And I think that that kind of harmony actually speaks to that motivation as he's approaching the mayor's office. So, harmonies can make a difference in the emotional appeal, but we're keeping the theme because we're using the same rhythmic concepts. Just another way that film scoring can affect the way you perceive things in a television show. Back to Bubba and Catfish.
Ooh, so hey. That was Matt talking about how the theme plays into what's coming up in the mayor's Mos Espa hardcore gangster storyline.
Oh yeah,
thank you, Matt.
Hardcore G. He's an old school G. Both the mayor and Matt Murdock. Hardcore G.
Oh, I didn't actually think you were including the mayor in that. I was just thinking you would say double M Matt Murdock.
All right. Well, speaking of some hardcore G's, we've got our own hardcore G's who are giving us feedback, and we'd like to share it with everybody on the pod. So, Bubba, we did get a very funny bit. I don't know, how would you describe this?
This is like a funny meme. It's a funny meme that Nathan on Facebook sent us, and I saw this, and I told Nathan, I said, Nathan, this made my day, because I was having a tough day at Bubba's day job. And so what it is a picture of Boba and Fennec Shand walking in the streets. And Boba says, Jabba ruled with fear. I intend to rule with respect. And then Fennec points out to Boba, she says, you shot Bib Fortuna in the face. Boba responds, respectfully. Oh, so good.
So good. We also got some feedback on Twitter. Camille at Harley Camille, that's an OG. Says, I feel like the past timeline is going to help us learn the motivation for whatever Boba is doing in the present timeline. I think this is maybe an unintentional explanation for why some people are not so big on this series. If she doesn't know what Boba's, we should be pretty clear on what Boba is doing in the present timeline. I think you have talked about that already in the first episode, about being very clear about people's understanding what our major characters' goals are. Help give us what's called in the business steaks.
Ooh, delicious steaks. A great Twitter follow. She is at Harley Camille on Twitter. Another OG fan that we love to always reference is our good buddy at Dooley's Left Legs on Twitter. And Dooley's wrote, I don't want to give spoilers away, so I'll not say the number. Mm-hmm. But how the hell did Catfish get the number of double H's?
Double H's?
Hutt headers that were holding those huts up. Catfish, he also points out, does look like the Wookiee with way too many names. Black Krrsantan. Oh, incredible.
Love it. Our old OG and a great friend to this podcast and to the Double P Network, Pat Sonego at Patman23 says, I think I'm more warm to the post-Sarlacc Tusken storyline because I do think it's good to explore the time between Return of the Jedi and Mando Season 1, where Fett finds Fennec after Toro failed to kill her.
The Toro Calican.
I don't mind it not working for you two as much as it does for me. I respect what you are laying down. To answer some of the points brought up on the podcast, I prefer practical effects for aliens over CGI, but I don't mind the CGI. Big A+ to Bubba. Boo. For theorizing the train might be used in preference to aircraft to avoid interdiction by the authorities or rival criminal elements.
Heck yeah.
I don't need things like that perfectly explained, but I appreciate the explanation in response to Catfish's question, the double C. I guess the Tusken storyline has the same energy as Mando not taking off his helmet in Season 1 until the very end, just to irritate Catfish.
Oh, man. Good work. Good work, Jon Favreau, if that was your intent. Man, all our feedback is from some of our great Double L loyal listeners at EndlessMike03 on Twitter. Wanted to get into our debate. Mike wrote, unlike Lost, where the flashbacks were more of an ingrained part of the show, I feel we're almost through Boba Fett's background, so we will have to wait and see if it pays off. I agree, Mike. Good point.
Oh, I think we got plenty more to go. It'll be curious to see whether the thing about the Lost storylines, the past and that whatever, is that they really fed into what was going on. And until tonight, until this episode, yes, we're getting an understanding for Boba's background, but it's the two stories aren't really talking to each other.
Not as hardcore as they were in Lost. You're right. Sometimes, like, the flashback would almost explain a mystery, that the answer to a mystery that the present had presented in Lost. You're exactly right on that.
All right, so Hamlet is dead. At Hamlet is dead says between the Wheel of Time and this, Catfish is an unhappy TV watcher. And as I pointed out to Hamlet is dead, I'm not an unhappy TV watcher. There are plenty of shows I'm watching that I'm really enjoying, but we're not podcasting any of those. But I am enjoying the Book of Boba Fett. It's not like some of the unnamed podcasts that I've done in the past. Where I have not really enjoyed the show. I am enjoying the show.
We got a great review on a service called Podbean. It's just another thing like Stitcher, another place where you can get podcasts. I think this is our good buddy Art, who's overseas, who gave our podcast nice review of saying, hey, thank you guys for covering the Mando series. I love it. And year one in the future, the Book of the Boba Fett is looking really good. So, hey, we love you. Love it, Art. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and we got an iTunes review, Bubba. Holy cow. Wow. It's so small, I can't even read it, so you're going to have to do it.
Okay, you have just shrunk.
Holy cow. I've done so many things to
What have you done to it? I can't read it before. What'd you do to it?
Can you just undo? I was trying to make it bigger so I could read it. Were you able? Hold on.
I'm trying to undo. What did you do to it?
Okay, let go.
Listeners, if you could see what the hell we just did to this.
Let go. I'm going to try to zoom on the. Okay, hold on. Okay, we can do this again. Okay, I got it now. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, hey, by the way, Bubba, we also got an iTunes review. This is from the U.S. The title is Boba Better Buddies, 5 stars by Yup Okay. The best podcast that has ever existed. These guys are double S's.
Double S's?
Super showmen.
Oh.
I named my firstborn child Bubba Catfish Murdoch in honor of their greatness. I love you. Holy cow. That is too honest, and that child will hate you for the rest of their life. Yup, okay with that terrible name, but thank you so much. Catfish Bubba Murdoch.
Oh, you wanted to be first there, Catfish?
Hell yes, I did.
Hey, so that is our thoughts on Chapter 3, The Streets of Mos Espa. We want to know yours. We say it till we're blue in the face. Please talk to us at PHQ on Twitter or Instagram, Facebook.com/PHQ, YouTube. Leave those comments. We want you to be entered to win one of these wonderful T-shirts we've ordered. And so please go to any social media device or email us on hello@PPmedia.com with a picture of you either following or subscribe to the podcast. You'll be eligible to win. And when we get to episode 7, chapter 7 of the Book of Boba Fett, we're going to pull names from a bowl and give away prizes to those lucky listeners. Thank you guys so much. Hey, Catfish, next week we're going to be past the halfway point once we go through chapter 4. Do you have any predictions where we're going to end up after the halfway point? What do you think?
Gosh, the funny thing is, Bubba, I was already thinking about where you talked earlier about how people are like want to see the badass Boba, but if we saw the badass Boba and he was just sitting here being the mob boss, how much fun would that be? So really, I was thinking about, is he gonna be successful at the end of this first season? Because if so, then what do you do? So I think we're gonna have the Krrsantan come back.
Oh, I hope
and we're gonna have I don't know if he's gonna need more feels like he's gonna need some more people. So maybe he's gonna have to go out in the desert, and maybe since we didn't see all the people, maybe he'll gather some friends.
I think so. I think there's a chance, and admittedly, there was this scene in the trailer where all the Transdoshans were there at Jabba's palace, gathered for a meeting and a dinner. I think we've got to do that. I think Boba's got to put some control over the city of Mos Espa and lay down the law that he is the Daimyo, or else, he's going to need several rancors to get all these idiots in line. Hey, that's what we think. Tell us what you think. My name's Bubba. You can find me on Twitter if you just want to shout at me individually at Fit and Trim. That's FITTENTRIM at Fit and Trim on Twitter.
And I'm Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67 on Twitter, and we'll talk to you next week on
Parsec Passion, a podcast about the client.
You should always do that. You're way better than me. I don't know why.
I know why I always start the show.
I ever do it.